Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google+. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Tuesday, May 10th, 2016, around 6:50 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. It's going to be a nice and sunny day out, close to 70. It's starting off a little bit frosty this morning, but it's going to rebound quickly, which is good news. Several days of good sunshine on tap and no wet weather into next week. Some news to report. Boston Red Sox doubled up on the Oakland A's by the score 14-7. Even though Clay Buchholz had a bad pitching performance, he still won the game. But I wonder how much longer the Red Sox are going to keep up with Clay Buchholz being so hot and cold. In the NBA playoffs, the Miami Heat beat the Toronto Raptors by a score of 94-87 in overtime to even the series at 2 games apiece. And it was pretty good. Whoever wins this series is going to face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and most likely they're going to get swept. And the Golden State Warriors beat the Portland Trailblazers by a score of 132-125 in overtime to go up 3-1 in that series. Stephen Curry came off the bench to score 40 points, including 17 points in overtime. He's the best player in the NBA right now, and he's going to win the MVP again. And in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, 2 Western Conference semifinal games happened last night. Dallas Stars held off the St. Louis Blues by the score of 3-2 to even that series at 3 games apiece. The deciding 7th game is going to be Wednesday in Dallas. Catch the game on NBC and Rogers Sportsnet and CBC in Canada. And the other Western Conference semifinal playoff game, the Nashville Predators beat the San Jose Sharks by a score of 4-3 in overtime, evening that series for 3 games apiece. It goes back to San Jose for Game 7, and the Sharks really need to win the Game 7 to get the monkeys off their back, and also not to be labeled as chokers, but they could get it done. And 46 years ago today, Bobby Orr scored one of the most famous goals in NHL history at Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Bruins and Blues to win the Stanley Cup for the Boston Bruins for the first time since 1941. That's the last time the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup on home ice at the Old Garden. And 37 years ago today was the infamous Too Many Men on the Ice Stanley Cup semifinal game between the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens, Game 7. The Bruins were up 3-2 with a few minutes left in the third period, which if they won that game, they would have went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but the Bruins were called with too many men on the ice, and the Montreal Canadiens scored a goal with 1 minute left in regulation, and they won in overtime, and that cost Don Cherry his job as Bruins coach. And that's about it on the news. My first video blog subject of the day is the continuation of the top 100 greatest professional wrestlers of all time. Today's from number 20 through number 11, and here they are. Number 20 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, El Santo. El Santo's probably the most famous Luchador Max wrestler of all time. He was legendary in Mexico for so many years. When he passed away in 1984, at his wake, he was buried with his mask on. Nobody knew his true identity. That's something. Number 19 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Frank Gotch. Frank Gotch was a wrestler at the turn of the 20th century, one of the most famous wrestlers back in the day. He was the first wrestler to be recognized as World Heavyweight Champion in 1905. Then that title lineage was went from got to the NWA World Title and the WCW World Title and the big gold belt. Number 18 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, CM Punk. Punk was a WWE superstar for so many years. He won multiple-time world champion, had lots of feuds with Randy Orton and Triple H and John Cena and The Rock and The Undertaker. He was very, very great as both a face and a heel. He abruptly left sports entertainment in January of 2014 and is now in new UFC. But I would love to see CM Punk back in the ring, and he could be even better. Number 17 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Nick Bockwinkel. Nick Bockwinkel was a consummate professional, having a long and illustrious career in the world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment, multiple-time AWA World Champion, one of the best heels of all time. His interview style was awesome with so many words you couldn't really pronounce. Eventually, when he retired, he became an agent and a producer for the WWE. Number 16 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Giant Baba. Giant Baba ran All Japan Wrestling for so many years, and he was also a great wrestler. With his height 6'10", he was a legend in Japan. He won the NWA World Title a few times. Very respectable promoter. He was, respected by every one of the wrestlers, including Bruno Sammartino and Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. Passed away in 1999 at the age of 61. Number 15 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Jack Briscoe. Jack Briscoe was an NWA World Champion a couple of times. He wrestled mainly in Florida and also Mid-Atlantic and St. Louis and other territories. Eventually, he was the Mid-Atlantic heavyweight champion several times. He bought into Georgia Championship Wrestling with his brother Jerry Briscoe. Eventually, the Briscoe brothers wrestled in the NWA World Tag Team Champions a few times. They turned heel in 1983, having a classic feud with Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. And Briscoe sold Georgia Championship Wrestling to Vince McMahon, and then they went to the WWE briefly, but Jack Briscoe quit in the winter of 1985 and never returned to pro wrestling. He ran Briscoe Brothers Auto Body Shop in Tampa, Florida. That's still open. It's worth a trip, so I recommend you to go down there and get your car fixed. And Jack Briscoe and Jerry Briscoe were inducted into the Hall of Fame by the WWE 2008, and Jack Briscoe passed away in 2010. Number 14 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, The Rock. The Rock was kind of king of the WWE for many years. He was both face and heel. He won multiple championships, including the WWE Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, and several Tag Team Championships. He was famous for, "Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And it doesn't matter what your name is." Or, finally, The Rock has come back to Max 2. And he's also an actor. And his father is Rocky Johnson. Number 13 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, John Cena. John Cena's still going strong in the WWE. He's been like the face of the WWE since the mid-2000s, and he has a rap gimmick, which is, pretty good. He's won many WWE titles, including several times the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE title, the US title, and a few tag team titles. He's famous for "You Can't See Me," and he's a mainstream star, being in a lot of movies, starring in a lot of movies, and hosting a lot of television shows. He's probably never going to turn heel because they sell so much merchandise of John Cena. And number 12 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Harley Race. Harley Race had a close to 30-year in-ring career in the world of sports entertainment. He was one of the top wrestlers in the 1970s. He was 7-time NWA World Champion and also an awesome heel. When he went to the WWE, he got the King gimmick managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. That was maybe a little bit of a goofy gimmick for him. But in the summer of 1987, he had some classic Texas death matches with the World Heavyweight Champion of the WWE, Hulk Hogan. Eventually, he retired and he became a manager to Lex Luger. And it's time. It's Vader time. Eventually, Harley Race opened up his wrestling school when he left the managing ranks of WCW. He's a 2004 WWE Hall of Famer. He's made a couple of appearances on WWE TV in the mid-2000s when he was attacked by Randy Orton with his Legend Killer gimmick. And number 11 on this list of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Verne Gagne. Verne Gagne was one of the biggest wrestling stars in the 50s, and he made $100,000 a year for many years. That was even more. That was the same money as some of the famous baseball players back in the day with Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams. So he was ranked up there with the highest paid sports stars, and he won a few junior heavyweight championships. He was promised an NWA world title reign, but they reneged on that. So he formed his own wrestling promotion, the AWA, which was based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and covered the Midwest, including Milwaukee and Chicago and Omaha and Denver and San Francisco. And Verne Gagne named himself the AWA World Championship, where he won that title 10 times. And eventually he got to book and run the AWA, but Verne did not change with the times, and eventually the AWA went under. He's a 2006 WWE Hall of Famer and just passed away last year. That's about it on that. Tomorrow's from number 10 through number 1, and there'll be a lot of big names left. Later on today, 2 more video blogs. One will be about the ESPN2 show, His and Hers, and the third and final video blog, the Night Personality Profile. Tonight's personality profile will be about Boston Bruins head coach Claude Julien. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Bennett guy. Molly Rosemont, the WCCO accents, nice legs. Elizabeth Hart, so stunning, she's the best. Amy Swinsy's awesome. Julie Gower, Fox 25, has nice legs. And Barbara Gibbs of ABC 11 in Raleigh, North Carolina, has that sweet southern accent. And in the words of Bob Redding, former union director of the Boys and Girls Club of former executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of Great America, go find something to do. See you later.